Good day, Perceptive reader, and welcome to the JamesPoeartistry.Productions podcast. This week, it happens to be on Sunday and it's in January. I want to reference that not only was there a change of the guard, so to speak, in the United States of America, from one president to the next president, the 47th president, okay? Also, this past week, you see, when on January 20th arrived, this was a day that many people observed called Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Now, what I want to reference about Martin Luther King Jr., and it's been quite some years since I've talked to you about him, so I thought I'll reference this and for new readers to make them aware that during the 1960s there was a spearheaded movement, what many people would consider Martin Luther King Jr. actually, you see, was the one doing that. And he was known very much so for his peaceful protests and marches. And remember, peaceful protests and marches were the ones that, as far as the one expressing their civil rights and their First Amendment rights, along with that, they were never the ones, you see, instigating any of the violence that did break out at times. It was actually violence that did break out because of people not being too happy about either what they were chanting, which was not inflammatory, by today's standards at all. And it really wasn't even back then, but really because of the atmosphere, the people's thinking around them, what they were requesting or chanting at times made them upset. So what are we talking about? There were some people who did practice bigotry or hatred over anybody's skin color, in this case, which was not theirs. All right. I wanted to tell you that because Martin Luther King Jr., he spearheaded the civil rights movements for the black skin color, okay, that shade, with some other type of references. You heard me mention the tone of skin color, the copper tone, the cocoa tone, okay? So, or bronze tone as well. So, with that being in mind, he was once placed in jail. And this is a letter that he wrote from the Birmingham jail. And it was back in 1963. It is actually a 6-page letter. And this letter, from my understanding, has been studied quite a bit over the years. And so it's an example of writing a letter and being able to express yourself. And also, if anybody is in a peaceful protest mode but not happen to be in jail, or whether they are in jail, this shows you how you can make a very productive use of your time and to keep your mind stimulated. It will help if you're practicing getting your voice back together, you see, as a speaker for this reason or that. So all the same, I want you to know that you can download this document from many websites absolutely free and read it yourself. I have this letter. I've had it stored in my archives from over the years, but I went on ahead and downloaded it again so that I could at least read it to you. The first page only, but I want you to know you certainly can get this letter, most likely from anywhere. And if you can't find it, then you can also write me, just fill in one of my commenting blocks at buymeacoffee.com/JamesPoeartistry, and I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you through email or what have you. So let me go ahead and let you see or hear his thoughts while he was in jail, and he wrote this letter. Notice this, it says, from the Birmingham jail, where he was imprisoned as a participant in nonviolent demonstrations against segregation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote in longhand the letter which follows. It was his response to a public statement of concern and caution issued by 8 white religious leaders of the South. Dr. King, who was born in 1929, did his undergraduate work at Morehouse College, attended the integrated Crozer Theological Seminary in Chester, Pennsylvania, one of 6 black pupils among 100 students, and the president of his class, and won a fellowship to Boston University for his PhD. All right. So, here we go, Perceptive Reader. This is just page number 1 out of 6. While confined here in the Birmingham City Jail, I came across your recent statement calling our present activities unwise and untimely. Seldom, if ever, do I pause to answer criticism of my work and ideas. If I sought to answer all of the criticisms that cross my desk, my secretaries would be engaged in little else in the course of the day, and I would have no time for constructive work. But since I feel that you are men of genuine good will and your criticisms are sincerely set forth, I would like to answer your statement in what I hope will be patient and reasonable terms. I think I should give the reason for my being in Birmingham, since you have been influenced by the argument of outsiders coming in. I have the honor of serving as president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, an organization operating in every southern state with headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. We have some 85 affiliate organizations all across the South, one being the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights. Whenever necessary and possible, we share staff, educational, and financial resources with our affiliates. Several months ago, our local affiliate here in Birmingham invited us to be on call to engage in a nonviolent direct action program if such were deemed necessary. We readily consented, and when the hour came, we lived up to our promises. So I'm here, along with several members of my staff, because we were invited here. I am here because I have basic organizational ties here. Beyond this, I am in Birmingham because injustice is here. Just as the 8th century prophets left their little villages and carried their "Thus saith the Lord" far beyond the boundaries of their hometowns. And just as the Apostle Paul left his little village of Tarsus and carried the gospel of Jesus Christ to practically every hamlet and city of the Greco-Roman world, I too am prepared to carry the gospel of freedom beyond my particular hometown. Like Paul, I must constantly respond to the Macedonian call for aid. Moreover, I am cognizant of the interrelatedness of all the communities and states. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects our indirectly. Or let me read that sentence over again, Perceptive Reader. It says, whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Never again can we afford to live with the narrow, provincial, outside agitator ideal. Anyone who lives inside the United States can never be considered an outsider. You deplore the demonstrations that are presently taking place in Birmingham, but I am sorry that your statement did not express a similar concern for the conditions that brought the demonstrations into being. I am sure that each of you would want to go beyond the superficial social analyst who looks merely at effects and does not grapple with underlying causes. I would not hesitate to say that it is unfortunate that so-called demonstrations are taking place in Birmingham at this time, but I would say in more emphatic or emphatic terms that it is even more unfortunate that the white power structure of this city left the Negro community with no other alternative. In any nonviolent campaign, there are 4 basic steps: collection of the facts to determine whether injustices are alive, negotiation, self-purification, and direct action. We have gone through all of these steps in Birmingham. There can be no gainsaying of the fact that racial injustice engulfs this community. Birmingham is probably the most thoroughly segregated city in the United States. Its ugly record of police brutality is known in every section of this country. Its unjust treatment of Negroes in the courts is a notorious reality. There have been more unsolved bombings of Negro homes and churches in Birmingham than in any other city in this nation. These are the hard, brutal, and unbelievable facts. On the basis of them, Negro leaders sought to negotiate with the city fathers, but the political leaders consistently refused to engage in good faith negotiation. Then came the opportunity last September to talk with some of the leaders of the economic community. In these negotiating sessions, certain promises were made by the merchants, such as the promise to remove the humiliating racial signs from the stores. On the basis of these promises, Reverend Shuttlesworth and the leaders of the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights agreed to call a moratorium on any type of demonstration. As the weeks and months unfolded, we realized that we were the victims of a broken promise. The signs remained. As in so many experiences of the past, we were confronted with blasted hopes, and the dark shadow of a deep disappointment settled upon us. So we had no alternative except that of preparing for direct action, whereby we would present our very bodies as a means of laying our case before the conscience of the local and national community. We were not unmindful of the difficulties involved, so we decided to go through a process of self-purification. That's page 1, Perceptive Reader, of this letter written by Martin Luther King Jr. on hand. And this goes to show you an aspect of our life in history. Some are still alive from that time. But see, it really does place forth upon every person that I would call of, conscience and free will. And especially if you believe in the God in heaven, good conscience and free will, at least in the United States of America, to always be appreciative of your citizens' rights, like even with the First Amendment, and also your God-given rights to pursue your worship. Yes, to pursue your worship. And I've said one time before, and I'll say it many times more, any person who would try to influence your worship in such a way to curtail your conscience, to force you to do things against your good, what I say, God-given conscience as well, is not a person who is going along with the spirit of the Constitution of the United States of America. Have a wonderful day, Perceptive Reader. Take care.